difficult to find it. Let's see here. I'm going to go to YouTube.
All right. It says that we're live now, so I'll believe that.
Okay. I'm still seeing it say waiting, but yeah, it says we're live too. So I assume we are.
All right. Well, good afternoon to everyone who's watching this live, or if you're watching this on replay. And today we're going to go over the draft lottery, which is coming up in just a couple of days. I've got Shane Lux with me here.
Sure, good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And first, before we dive into this year, we're going to start off by talking about last year's NHL draft lottery and why the Chicago Blackhawks were selected, or why they won the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. Shane, would you like to start off?
I talked about this, and I have a couple videos about it. I'll probably comment in the YouTube post afterwards and link them. It was all about that sexual assault scandal that happened back supposedly in 2010. The news broke. When was that? I want to say September, October of 2022. I want to say it was somewhere in there was when that came out. And it was dealing with the player Kyle Beach, who was a member of the Blackhawks during that time. I believe he played with their AHL affiliate, I want to say, the Rockford Ice Hogs, I think. And the one thing I talked about, to make a long story short, because there's a lot to it. So again, I want to paraphrase this, but Kyle Beach has the birthday January 13th, which is a date written 1/13, like 113. And of course, this was the first time I was made aware of Connor Bedard being supposedly the next big thing. And judging by his rookie season, it looks like he will be. I knew that then the 2024 draft would be the Connor Bedard sweepstakes. And of course, when you write out Connor Bedard's name in the most simple cipher, the alphabetic order, it sums to 113. And I thought, okay, here's the price the Blackhawks are going to have to pay in order to win the draft lottery. And of course, you ended up seeing Jonathan Toews leave the team, and during that time, Patrick Kane left the team, and their owner, Rocky Wirtz, who I did not do a video on, I probably should, covering his death. They all, again, Kane and Toews left the team, and then Rocky Wirtz dropped dead. And I said, see, they're moving away from the Kane and Toews era, and in comes the Bedard era. And sure enough, when draft lottery came around, Chicago got it. And I just told people too, I said, are they going to put him in Anaheim? They're going to put him in a small market? Are they going to put him in Columbus, a small market? I'm like, no, he's going to Chicago. It just seemed too perfect. So I was not surprised at all to see that happen.
Right. And I have up here my notes from last year before the draft lottery. And last year, the Blackhawks had 59 points. Connor Bedard equals 59. And
that's a big number too. Don't forget that. Remember, Sidney Crosby's also 59. Evgeny Malkin's 59. There's a lot of players in NHL history that are superstars that are connected to that number.
Right. All right. And with that said, I'm going to switch. Well, I'm going to switch windows here. Give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we are. So just to set the scene, this year the NHL Draft Lottery is on May 7th, which is this year it's the 120th day of the year, normally the 127th. We're going to get into why those two numbers are important. And it is 52 days before the draft. Celebrini's birthday is June 13th, which is the day leaving 201 of the days left in the year. And we all know the Jesuit order is 201, and also 613 is the 112th prime number. The Jesuits claim to operate in 112 countries. And that's also the day that the Knights won the Stanley Cup on last year.
Right. And don't forget the word mathematics is 112 as well.
Right. And also another couple of interesting things. If you write out Macklin Celebrini at 77, and he plays college hockey in Boston, right? Or he just finished his season in Boston. His last name, Celebrini, equals 77. Also 160, I think Secret Society is 166, Freemasonry 58. But I think 77 is kind of an important number, and we'll get to that in a bit. The team with the best odds to win the draft lottery is the San Jose Sharks. And just as someone who, I don't want to say I am a Sharks fan anymore, but as someone who grew up a Sharks fan, I hope they don't win it, because I'm not the type of person that thinks you should get rewarded for losing.
Right.
Also, I don't know, I feel like the fan base might become insufferable if they get the number 1 overall pick. But
they've never got one before, so
right.
We'll have to see, because they seem to be hyping up the California teams too. We just saw the whole thing with Cutter Gauthier not wanting to play in Philadelphia, and they send him to Anaheim with Carlson and Zegras and all that. And we'll see. It seems like they're only going to keep California in the basement for so much longer, but yeah, I know what you're going to say. Go ahead. The whole thing with Anaheim Ducks being 71 and that, yeah.
Okay, but I'll start off with the Sharks. And San Jose CA does equal 24. We are in the year 2024. Mm-hmm. Also, San Jose California equals 72, like Jesuit order. And we just talked about the Jesuit connections with Celebrini. Of course, their star right now, William Eklund, wears number 72. I don't think the date numerology of the draft is that important, but it is on 42 date numerology because where is it up here? Yeah, it's saying 6 plus. I can't do the math in my head right now, but I calculated it earlier. It is on 42 date numerology. San Jose Sharks is 42, just like Jesuit as well.
And things like that can be tricky too, because the Sharks are going to get a pick on that date. That doesn't necessarily mean it has to be number 1 overall.
And it is, I think, and the way the draft lottery works now. Hold on. Yeah, the way the draft lottery works now is that now the team with the best odds is guaranteed to get a top 3 pick. So they will get a high pick. Just will it be number 1 or number 2 or number 3 is the question. Okay, back to the notes. Also, his dad, I don't know if he still works for the Warriors, but at one point he was an employee for the Warriors who were in the Bay Area. So,
really? That I did not know.
Yeah, his name is Rick Celebrini.
Okay.
But with the Sharks, I didn't bold anything because I didn't really think there was anything that really stood out. There are some kind of loose connections. But there's some more to talk about in just a little bit. All right, the team with the second best odds is the Blackhawks. They could win it again. I mean, Blackhawks last year the draft was on the 179th day of the year last year, just like it is this year. Blackhawks is 179, and they did finish the season with 52 points. And the draft lottery is 52 days before the draft, so that's something to think about. What is the 62 connection? Must have bolded 62 for a reason. I can't. Oh, it's the 62nd NHL draft. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. And they say that you can win the draft lottery 2 years in a row, but you can't win it you can't win it more than twice in a 5-year span or something like that.
Is that what it is? I haven't kept up to date with the rules.
Yeah, I've only
changed it through.
Read it once or twice. I'm just going based off of memory for that. All right, the next team is the Ducks. Now the Ducks are interesting because Celebrini wears number 71. I did make note of that there. He wears number 71. Anaheim Ducks is 71. Ducks is also 58 and 77, just like Celebrini. Ducks is 32. They're about to start their 32nd season. There's 32 sun rays on the Jesuit logo. But the thing about the Ducks that makes me not so certain that they're going to get number 1, if I go back to, I'm just going to share the entire screen so I don't have to keep flipping back and forth. They finished with 59 points and not 58. If they had finished the season with 58 points, I think they would have very good riddle to get the number 1 overall pick, but they didn't finish with 58. They finished with 59.
Right.
We do know
Like I say,
59, but
59 is a number that connects to superstar players, though. And I don't know that Celebrini's maybe on the level of a Bedard, but just keep, don't dismiss 59 in that regard.
Right.
The Ducks have, from a gematria standpoint, just from a numbers standpoint, that they make the most sense. Doesn't mean they're going to get it, but.
All right, I'll move on to the next one, which is Columbus. And I think Columbus is the only time they had the number 1 overall pick was when they had Rick Nash.
That is correct.
And the only thing about them is that if you write out Columbus Blue Jackets, it equals 53. It's a span of 53 days from the draft lottery. Can't remember where I wrote that down, but there it is. Span of 53 days from the draft lottery until the draft. Blue Jackets is also 71. And Columbus, Ohio does have the Jesuit connections, 153 and 54. Of course, that's the team that Alex Ovechkin scored his first ever goal against. It's also the team that the current Shark star William Eklund also scored his first ever goal against. But it seems Columbus never seems to get anyone or get anything.
No, well, that's because again they're a small market.
Right.
The NHL doesn't want those superstar players going there. I mean, that's why when they got Gaudreau and Laine, they've been mediocre.
Right. All right. Next one is Montreal, and I know you've talked about this before because sometimes when you have to do the gematria for Montreal, sometimes you include the accent on the E and sometimes you don't.
Typically, I don't because of the fact that Montreal is 93 in the most simple cipher, and that was the last time they won the Stanley Cup. Usually 93 plays pretty well with them. So, again, it is a French-speaking city, and, that is how it's spelled in French. So, typically, that's what I like to do. You could even argue San Jose technically has an accent in it.
Yeah, and then the official city logo and, on official documents, it does have an accent, although –
right.
When we write it out, we did not put an accent on it because we are not Spanish speakers.
Right.
Actually, I don't know if I've ever done the gematria of San Jose, not including the accent on the E. I'll do that later, but there might be some interesting.
Well, E, you just be minusing 5. Is all you would.
Right.
And 22 in reverse.
I'll have to think about that more later. Okay, now this one coming up here is very interesting.
I just will say this. If this happens, this is just going to be a total slap in the face to the entire state of Arizona. If this happens. And people don't get the joke about that either, right? Utah's the 45th state. Arizona moved there after their 45th season. It's like, come on.
Right. Okay. So starting off, this new team we don't know the name of yet, but they're going to be called the Utah something. Utah is 58, just like Celebrini. And the Coyotes just finished the season with 77 points. Again, Celebrini, 77. And Utah is 128 years old as a state. And the draft lottery is going to be on the 128th day of the year. And this new owner, or I shouldn't say he's a new owner because he's been the owner of the Jazz for a bit, but this owner, Ryan Smith, if you go to Wikipedia, I can pull it up here. All right, so if you go to his Wikipedia page, it says his real name is S. Ryan Smith. So his first name is probably like Steven or Sean or Sam or something like that. But anyway, so S. Ryan Smith equals 124, and the draft lottery is 124 days after Utah's birthday. And as you just said, they just concluded their 45th season. Utah is also the 45th state.
Yep. Yeah, that's the one thing too. Just to make a point, I noticed the hockey guy who's got over 314,000 subscribers on YouTube. I know he made the joke he made the point when people would talk about the NHL being rigged and scripted. He's like, well, if it was rigged and scripted, they'd be putting all kind of play. Arizona would be having all these number 1 draft picks, this, that, and the other. And I say, no, not necessarily, not at all, because they're a small market. And if the NHL wants the market in Arizona and people are still going to the games, whether it's filled with the other team's fans or not, what does the NHL care? What do you need them to win for?
Right.
And then if they go to Utah and then they get the number 1 pick, I mean, just again, would it surprise me? It wouldn't surprise me, but it would be the ultimate slap in the face.
Right. And of course, they also speaking of the hockey guy, that is actually I do watch some of his videos, and I
watch his videos too. And honestly, he seems like a nice guy. And it's kind of funny because I know people are probably pissed at me right now because of the pick I made at the beginning of the year. I said I wrote out with what I said back in September of 2016, so I wasn't going against it until it lost. But he picked the Devils at the beginning of the year, and they didn't even make the playoffs. I said, at least when I've been wrong, the teams have still made the playoffs. So,
right, and also continuing with the new Utah team, if you write up Macklin Celebrini, it's 103, and the Coyotes just spent 27 years in Arizona. Of course, 103 is the 27th prime, and they, if you include their days dating back to the Winnipeg Jets of the WHA, it's been 52 seasons. And we said earlier that where is it on here? It's there it is, 52 days from the draft lottery until the draft. And also going back to Ryan Smith, his birthday is the same day as the NHL draft, June 28th.
Right.
He's 45 right now. He's about to be 46. And if you write out Ryan Smith, it equals 46. And for Ryan Smith, it's 127, and the draft lottery is on May 7th, which is usually the 127th day of the year. And another thing that's interesting, so I talked about earlier, so here, Macklin Celebrini here, his dad, hired by the Warriors as their director of sports medicine and performance. And earlier this year,
he has a brother in the league too, huh? I didn't know he had a player picked 6th overall, or 6th round, 171st by the Canucks. That's interesting.
So he might be in the AHL or might still be in juniors. I'll have to check on him. But anyways, with the Warriors, earlier this year, they had their assistant coach. He died in Utah. Well, actually, I don't know if he died in Utah, but he died like right before they were supposed to play a game in Utah. And
Warriors 117.
Right. And it was on the day of preparing for Disease X simulation.
Oh, better be careful talking about that stuff. They'll take your video down.
What's interesting about that?
Misinformation.
What's interesting about Disease X is that last year, on the day that the Knights won the Stanley Cup, June 13th, which is also Celebrini's birthday, that's when this Disease X Act was introduced. And so Celebrini has the connection with the Warriors, and this Warriors assistant coach died on the same day as the simulation for Disease X, and he has the same birthday as this Disease X Act. And that the Warriors assistant coach just died. I just want to confirm that he died in Utah. Yeah, he did die in Utah. And that was at the age of 46. We were just saying that the draft is on the new Utah owner's 46th birthday. So it'll be interesting if that's the riddle. I mean, that would be kind of
it would make sense. Yeah.
All right, and then just rounding out the last few.
Hang on, is the draft lottery is going to take place what, on the 7th?
Let me just confirm.
May 7th, right?
That's what I saw. Let me just confirm that. Yeah, there it is. Draft lottery will be on May 7th.
Well, and again, I don't want to get your video taken down, but if don't forget from January 17th to May 7th, that is 111 days, and we know that's a number that connects to 666. I don't want to say how, but we know about that. We know about all the simulations and what they've done. So that's pay attention to who Utah gets, even if it's not the number one pick. They could be getting a star.
I mean, I don't know much about NHL draft prospects. So I don't know who the other guys are in the.
Well, apparently it's supposed to be a pretty good class. I mean, typically they say that every year, but we'll find out. We'll find out 4 or 5 years down the road for sure.
Right, and then just rounding out the last few. The only thing that I noticed with Ottawa is that Ottawa, Ontario does equal 179. Like that draft is on the 179th day of the year. Seattle, they have a Jesuit connection, but really isn't much there. Calgary, again, just a couple of Jesuit connections, and Calgary does equal 41. Like the draft is on the 179th day of the year. The only thing with the Devils is that Devils equals 71 and he wears 71, but I couldn't find anything else outside of that.
Well, if he goes to New Jersey, they could very well be a dynasty for the next decade.
And then with the Sabres, nothing, only 127, and May 7th is normally the 127th day of the year, but not this year. So I don't think there's anything there. I think, at least in my opinion, the teams with the 3 best riddles to get the number 1 overall pick are, in no particular order, Chicago, Anaheim, and Utah.
Sure. I wouldn't overlook that thing with the Warriors though too. He could end up going to San Jose, despite how bad the Sharks have been the last couple years. So,
right. And I do feel like the Sharks will be good in the next couple of years, regardless of if they get the number 1 overall pick, because they've always had. I did a video on it last year. They have this weird connection with the Capitals, and if they are following a very similar script to how the Capitals went when the Capitals started making the playoffs a few years after Ovechkin was drafted, and if the Sharks start making the playoffs a few years after William Eklund was drafted, then we'll know it's a very script.
Sure, yeah.
There was one more thing that I wanted to pull up. Now I forget what it was. Oh, that's right. There is. Now, what is it? Who will win the? There is a way to look this up, but I can't. So I don't. DraftKings is not eligible in my state, but there you can. It is possible to bet on which team will win the NHL draft lottery.
Are you in Texas?
Yeah, DraftKings isn't legal in Texas. There are some sportsbooks legals here, but not DraftKings.
Okay, it is in my state up here in Pennsylvania. Yeah, we can use that.
Yeah, we have like Bovada and Bet Online, but
those are offshore sports books, though,
yeah.
Right?
But anyways, with this, I guess if you bet on like 4 teams, like the Sharks, Ducks, Blackhawks, and Coyotes, and if you just if you bet on 4 of those and then the Sharks hit, you would still, I think you would lose like what, $30?
Depends on how much you bet.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay. Well, that's if you bet 100. If you bet like $10 on like these 4, I think you would lose like $3.70. Or no, I can't do math right now, but I think if you wanted to say you wanted to bet like $10 on 3 teams, if you bet like the Sharks, Ducks, and Coyotes, and one of those hit, you would come out with more money than you put in.
Sure.
I can't. Again, I'm not gonna.
Well, I mean, the Ducks pay 7-1 if you bet
Right.
10 on them. That's 70 right there. What are the Blue? Even the Blue Jackets, they pay that's $85 if you bet 10. You know, Coyotes would pay you 100. I mean, so it's little things like that. That's kind of how you want to do. And then and then if it ends up being the Sharks, even if you choose not to play them, I mean, who cares? You lose 30, $40. It's not the end of the world.
Right.
That's the way you gotta look at it.
All right. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to say in regards to the upcoming draft lottery and draft and anything else?
As far as the draft lottery, no, because I haven't looked into it a whole heck of a lot this year. But what I will say, in light of the well, I don't know. I'm going to make a video later today. We're going to find out what happens in Game 7 tonight between the Stars and the Golden Knights, and then I'm going to go ahead and probably later tonight I'm going to upload the video to my Patreon. We're going to talk about round 2, and there's, like I said in the beginning, I said you got the Canada narrative, you have the narrative with Dallas. They're not out of the question. You know what's interesting too? Did you know Dallas's birthday? Do you know what it is?
That's probably something I should know, but I don't.
It's February 2nd.
Okay.
And if the Stanley Cup Finals do begin on June 7th, that's 126 days later because 2024 is a leap year, and Dallas Stars is 126. And we talked about how if they win the Stanley Cup, they'll get their 134th playoff win, which is interesting.
I know with the Stars, because here in Texas, the Texas Independence Day, when they became independent from Mexico, is March 2nd, 3/2. And if you write out Lone Star, the state's nickname, it's 32. And the Stars' only Stanley Cup is in their 32nd season.
Right.
And next year will be their 32nd season in Dallas.
And there's the arena they play in, too. American Airlines Arena is 108, and it'll be the 108th season as well.
All right, we'll see. I know that with one thing that I had noticed just a little bit is that when the Rangers won the Stanley Cup back in '94, I think they snapped a 54-year drought. Yep. And they did that against the Canucks. Mm-hmm. And that was the year where there was the whole O.J. Simpson alleged murder and car chase and all that. And now he passes away 30 years later. We could see a repeat of that final, but there's still. I'll let you.
The
you can
thing
discuss
about
that on your Patreon, but
yeah, the thing about the Rangers, they have no hype, which is really bizarre. They're actually not even the betting favorite against the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are favored to win that series, and we got Game 1 starting in about an hour and a half or so. And it's interesting because New York's the 11th state, like I said before, and the last time a team that won the President's Trophy and the Stanley Cup, it was the Blackhawks in 2013, and that was 11 years ago with New York being the 11th state. So them and Dallas are the two teams that are the most interesting. However, and again, I don't want to say everything I'm going to put out a video, but there's one thing that really jumps out about the Vancouver Edmonton series, and there's one thing that really jumps out about the Florida Boston series, and that series might very well tie into the conference final, depending on if Carolina can get by the Rangers. So we're still trying to piece it all together because it has been very difficult these last 3 or 4 years trying to figure out how they're doing it. And I don't even think it's so much the live gambling, because to me, I think that's more of an excuse. I think what it is everything has been altered since COVID, the way they've been doing things. So many traditional things that have been happening they're not doing that right now. And like I said before, we have to try to figure out exactly what way they're going with it. And that's the one thing I think where Zach is losing a lot of support is he's afraid to be wrong and he's afraid to make a pick. Me, I'm not afraid to be wrong. I'm going to go out and say, hey, look, here's what I said 8 years ago. And if this happens, great. If it doesn't, so be it, and we move on. The biggest thing is you got to be willing to make picks. You got to be willing to take chances and say, hey, look, we're going to figure this out one way or another, because they're so often what I've noticed now what's happening is, like, you remember when the Rangers won the World Series by the numbers back on October 11th.
Right. I mean, I have a 60-minute video on it.
Yeah, that was That was something. And what they so often seem to do now is when a city wins, when that city wins something in one sport, a lot of times it ends up coinciding with something happening with another sports team right in their same town. I mean, we saw that play. I mean, they couldn't have been any more obvious with Tampa Bay when Brady went down there.
Right.
They win the Super Bowl, they win the Stanley Cup and the American League pennant. So,
I mean, I just remember growing up in the Bay Area, like when I before like the Giants won the World Series, like no one had really won anything, and then the Giants won the World Series, and then the Warriors started winning championships. And
that's exactly what they do. So you're from the Bay Area?
Yeah, I'm from San Jose. I mean, I grew up like maybe a 10-minute drive from where the Sharks play. Went to a bunch of games there growing up.
Oh, okay. Do you know what a woman is?
Very funny. Dude, I feel like you might ask about that. I don't know when all this like weird stuff started happening. I mean, it seems like it's relatively recent.
It is. It's all manufactured. It's all social media manufactured. That's for sure. Again, there's only so much you can say on YouTube, but when it comes to all the social issues, it's all about population control. We'll just say that. I mean, why? I mean, it's amazing people can't put two and two together on that. I mean, why do they want an entire generation of homosexuals? Why are they giving kids puberty blockers? Why don't they want them procreating? I mean, come on. Abortion, fat phobic. We want all the people fat and unhealthy. We want, people out there giving abortions and murdering their babies. It's like, how can you not put that together? I don't understand that. But even climate change, the same type of thing, and I know you're not allowed to say that on here. I've had videos deleted for saying that about climate change. So I'm not even going to go down that road.
Yeah, I know you often talk about like the rich, white, educated liberals. I mean, that's kind of the social group that I grew up in. I'm happy that I'm kind of no longer a part of that. Although
I work with these people with the reporting work that I do, and I'll tell you what, I in most cases, with very little exception, wealthy, college indoctrinated white liberals are typically the biggest pieces of shit on this planet. They are smug, condescending. Everything's a conspiracy theory. Everything's a coincidence. Everybody's a clown. It's like, please tell me you're fully vaccinated, please.
No, there definitely are a lot of those from my experience as well.
It's probably worse now. You go back 30, 40 years ago, maybe not as much, but for today, it can be insufferable. All
right. Well, I'll let you go. It was great talking with you, and we'll see how this pans out.
Sure thing. We will absolutely see.
All right. Have a good rest of the day.
N201's here. What's up, 201? I know N201. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's cool.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right. See you later. Catch you later.